The rain had been falling all night, relentless and heavy, beating against the cracked windows of Daniel Carter's small rented house like a cruel reminder of life storms. Inside, Daniel sat hunched at the kitchen table, his hands clasped together, staring at a pile of unpaid bills. His daughter, Emily, just 8 years old, slept in the next room on a mattress that had seen better days. Daniel had tucked her in earlier with a smile he could barely afford, whispering promises of brighter days even though he had no idea how to keep them. His wife had walked out years ago, leaving him with a toddler in his arms and a heart too stubborn to give up. He worked odd jobs, anything that would put food on the table, from washing dishes to hauling bricks. But no matter how hard he tried, it always felt like life demanded more than he had to give. That morning, as dawn broke through the stormy clouds, Daniel pulled on his worn jacket and stepped outside. The air smelled of wet earth, and the streets shimmered with puddles that reflected a gray sky. He was on his way to a part-time handyman gig, a job that barely paid enough but meant another meal on the table. He didn't notice the luxury SUV at first, stuck in the muddy ditch just off the side road near the gas station. The car's wheels spun helplessly, splattering mud. Standing beside it was a woman in her mid-30s, her sleek black coat soaked at the shoulders, her high heels sinking into the wet ground. Her face carried both frustration and a certain quiet dignity, like someone used to control but suddenly thrown into chaos. Daniel hesitated. He was already running late. His boss had warned him last week, "One more late shift, Carter, and you can forget about this job." But when he saw the woman struggling to push against the SUV herself, mud streaking across her coat, something inside him stirred. Emily's voice echoed in his head, her innocent reminder from the night before. "Daddy, you always say we should help people, even when it's hard." Without another thought, Daniel jogged toward her. "Ma'am, looks like you could use a hand," he said, his voice steady despite the rain. The woman glanced up, startled at first, then relieved. "I don't think it's going anywhere," she admitted, brushing a wet strand of hair from her face. "I've been trying to call roadside assistance, but no one's coming." Daniel smiled faintly. "Roadside assistance will take forever. Let's see what we can do." He took off his jacket, tossed it aside, and crouched by the SUV. His boots sank into the mud as he examined the wheels. He grabbed a few fallen branches, wedging them under the tires to create traction. The woman watched, impressed by his quiet determination. "All right," he said, bracing himself against the bumper. "When I say go, give it some gas." She climbed back into the driver's seat, gripping the wheel. At his signal, the engine roared, the wheels spun, and mud sprayed across Daniel's shirt and face. He didn't flinch, just pushed harder, his muscles straining, his breath coming in heavy bursts. Finally, with a sudden jolt, the SUV lurched forward, rolling free from the ditch. The woman slammed the brakes, then jumped out, relief flooding her features. "You did it," she exclaimed, her eyes bright with gratitude. Daniel wiped mud from his cheek with the back of his hand and gave a tired smile. "Just glad it's out. You'll want to drive slow, the ground's slick." The woman stepped closer, really looking at him now. His shirt was torn at the sleeve, his shoes caked in mud, and yet there was something undeniably noble in the way he stood, exhausted, but uncomplaining. She extended her hand. "I don't know how to thank you. I'm Claire." "Daniel," he replied, shaking her hand firmly. Claire hesitated, then asked, "Can I at least pay you for your time? You saved me a lot of trouble." Daniel shook his head. "No need. Just, maybe pay it forward to someone else someday." He gave a small nod and began to walk away, pulling his jacket back on. But something about his humility lingered with Claire as she watched him disappear down the road. Most people would have asked for money, maybe even taken advantage of the situation. But he hadn't. And it struck her, this man had nothing, and yet he gave without asking for anything in return. What Daniel didn't know was that Claire wasn't just anyone. She was the CEO of a rapidly growing tech company in the city, a woman whose days were filled with board meetings, high-stakes deals, and decisions worth millions. Yet in that moment, standing in the mud with her SUV finally freed, she wasn't thinking about business. She was thinking about the man who had walked away, the man who carried more strength in his silence than many did in their wealth. Over the next few days, Daniel tried to forget about it. He had no room in his life for distractions. His days were spent working until his body ached, his nights spent helping Emily with homework by candlelight when the power got cut again. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Claire couldn't shake the memory of Daniel's kindness. She had her assistant discreetly find out who he was. When she learned about his life, the odd jobs, the daughter, the constant struggle, her heart ached. She decided to visit the diner where he washed dishes part-time. The bell above the door chimed as she entered one evening, spotting him behind the counter, sleeves rolled up, scrubbing pans with tired determination. He looked up, startled, when he saw her. "Claire," he said, surprised. "I hope you don't mind," she replied softly. "I wanted to thank you properly. Do you have a moment?" He hesitated. "I'm working." She smiled. "Then I'll wait until you're done." Later, when his shift ended, they sat together in a booth. She asked about his life, and though Daniel was reluctant, her genuine interest eventually broke through his walls. He told her about Emily, about the struggles, about the dreams he once had but had to set aside. Claire listened, truly listened, and something in her chest stirred. This man, with all his burdens, still carried himself with a dignity money couldn't buy. "Daniel," she said gently, "have you ever thought about doing something different? Using your skills in a better way?" He laughed bitterly. "I don't have the luxury of dreams, Claire. My only goal is keeping Emily fed and safe." But Claire wasn't discouraged. Over the next weeks, she kept showing up, sometimes with dinner for him and Emily, sometimes just to talk. Slowly, Daniel began to trust her, though he never understood why someone like her would spend time with someone like him. One evening, as Emily sat drawing pictures of stars and houses on the diner napkins, Claire leaned closer to Daniel. "You helped me that day, without asking for anything. You showed me kindness when I was helpless. Let me help you now, not out of pity, but because I believe in you." It was the turning point. Claire offered him a job at her company, not a handout, but a position in facilities management where his hard work and problem-solving could shine. At first, Daniel resisted, pride and fear holding him back. But Emily looked at him with hopeful eyes and whispered, "Daddy, maybe this is our chance." And so, he accepted. Months passed, and life began to change. Daniel worked tirelessly, proving himself, while Emily thrived in her new school thanks to Claire's quiet support. And somewhere along the way, something deeper blossomed between Daniel and Claire, a connection built not on wealth or status, but on respect, gratitude, and love. The story came full circle one evening when Daniel and Claire stood together watching Emily play in the park. The sun set behind them, painting the sky in hues of gold. Daniel turned to her, his voice thick with emotion. "That day, I thought I was just pushing a car out of the mud. I never knew I was pushing my life into a new path." Claire's eyes glistened as she reached for his hand. "And I never knew that being stuck in the mud would lead me to the person I didn't know I was searching for." They stood there, hand in hand, watching Emily laugh with joy, knowing that sometimes the smallest act of kindness could change everything. Because when a struggling dad helped a woman pull her SUV out of the mud, he didn't just free her car, he freed both of their hearts from loneliness, proving that love and hope can bloom in the most unexpected places.